certain things to be significant enough that you might be. A good example is we have significant deficiencies. This is something that, if we look at some of the past years, even like 2010, we only had one material weakness and a bunch of other stuff. And it was just, a lot of stuff, okay. Not earth shattering. There's always, things you gotta, deal with. Look at the following year, almost everything became significant deficiency in 2011. Why do you think that went there? A lot of things were repeats. Really, and from judgment call, I would have said, they got worse in 2011 than they did in 2010. Therefore, certain things that might have been
correct. Management, primary responsibility for two individuals who were potentially through, they were responsible for 11 to 12 months. And that report noted that while some of this can be attributed to some of the staff, much of this should have been handled throughout the year. Much of it had nothing to do with the software. It had to do with people and the lack of reporting. So we went from one material weakness to three and 18 significant deficiencies.
I'll just answer the question. Our company, when we do isolation, we got the audit procedure that we can audit against the procedure. And so, I guess one of my questions is, do you audit against the procedure, or do you audit against the end results of what you see? Because one of the questions I had was, I admit, that we had some people that maybe didn't know what they were doing in 2011, but did they have, was the knowledge transferred in terms of a procedure that they could follow?
That was one of the material weaknesses, procedures and policies. An organization with a change in management should be able to continue somewhat okay. There's going to be blips. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. The change in management, individuals who get here, right or different, there's going to be blips. Procedures, nobody found there's procedures that are lacking or nobody understands them, or the people trying to implement them don't understand them. A lot of these items weren't caused because we were looking for them. We just happen to go and say this account balance is way off, way wrong. And for audit, you start with unadjusted audit. The manager made an attempt to at least do something. Maybe I would have softened it, but if it became like everything we touched was off, and we look at material stuff. We're not looking at, and that's why stuff goes to material weakness. Business office policy procedures. I got the point with the guys. There's some procedures out there, but nobody's following anything. Nobody's even reading them. Where are they about to read them? Ask, hey, you're supposed to do this. We are. What does it happen? Right?
As I look at the draft, and continuously, this
They've actually written the policies pretty well. And the material weakness this year is a lot of the annual closings. Really, there's an annual process to be written. The day-to-day stuff that we talked about like back in March is starting to be done right. Cross my fingers with that and all saying, we'll see what happens at June 30th, because that's the next test. And what happened at June 30th, things that were supposed to be adjusted for, taken care of year end, work. Yes. You got to execute. You got to execute.
Superb.
Well, written. I hate to say, you read them,
Show me the money.
show me money. If you don't follow the stuff, and they're well written, they're in the sense of design, they meet the design, now you got execute.
What stands out, I know it's really one of the things that runs through all this material and it jumps out. If you can't reconcile your checkbook at the end of the month, not doing jack. Okay, and it's 1, 2, 3. And is it going to be 4? And it's a material weakness, and it's something that is, I'm not going to use the word easy, but it is a elementary procedure of accounting to close your books. Okay, and we should be ashamed of ourselves.
School districts, tend not to be, they're not running for profits, they don't go
guys got up on 2 pencils. We said, we'll pay for the coffee.
Okay, done.
Get the job done.
Yeah.
And board of trustees that I reported to did not accept. On every ballot I worked at, we had software conversions, we anticipated the problems, there was a plan, and a year later, you didn't want to show up.
Oh,
To the board of trustees who you sold on buying a new software package to say that it was complicated, costless.
we talked about this in March, after March, on the bank accounts were reconciled. They pretty much all were. At that point, no problem. I'm like, all right, continue this going. Some of it's automatic, it just, really because of Izzy's involvement, she does a lot of day-to-day stuff, but it just worked. I said, okay, we'll see in 3 months where we're really at. We'll come back to you, your ass closing. A little bit, I mean, they weren't significantly off because they were okay in March, but they're still fundamentally.
I'm gonna make sure, you just said the one, green means it's been taken care of.
That's best.
I just want, okay, that's, I wanted to make sure.
If you have your track.
And fair to you, you mentioned in a couple of reports that you have identified certain things, but there could well be additional material uses and additional significant deficiencies, but you've done your job according to how
Yeah.
you contract with
Same
them
way.
according to.
Yeah, our standard doesn't, we don't test internal controls if we can. And, if we did, I don't know what I'd find. I'd probably find a lot more stuff.
But when you're testing, you find 50% are not correct, or 40% are not correct,
Yeah, you saw,
and 25% are not correct. That raises some significant issues.
So Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, the plan of the business office and the policies within the business office seem to be good. It was just carrying out the functions of carrying out the policies. Okay.
Ones that you write, myself, put on paper, execute. Wind up with, here, drawers, everything. Most schools, there's a lot of adjustments in the year by the school officials. No different, very standard, this is school-based accounting, but everything we touch, that's school-based, was touched. So we're sitting there, your daughter saying, you want us to come back? No, we need to get it done, that's great. And some information piece of it, you go through it, try to analyze it, go forth from last year, we were comfortable with, going to, okay, this is correct, and she says, oh, yeah, that's correct, post the entries, that's not our requirement to do that. Basically, they said, no, I'll figure it out, I'll meet a couple months, and I'll be ready. So that's great, no problem. That didn't happen, everybody wants to get it done timely, I would still report it as a control efficiency. And maybe I would have said it differently, said management at least took an attempt at it, some of these balances, and you can see some of the adjustments are fairly
For
sizable.
the new audit committee meeting members and the other board members, this is where we have gotten to where the audit bills are extremely high, yet they weren't really doing audit functions, they were doing account functions. So there was no differentiation of that. They were coming in to get the audit complete, and that's where fees explode.
Yeah, okay.
Period, just to get it done.
Tell me, I'll come back when you're ready. Great. That's about me. I've seen it happen where even other, entities, usually governmental, they'll go off and hire another firm, and help fix it, and then we come in and have us a lot. But usually there's timelines, as you know, your financials are done timely.
You don't do it,
You don't do it.
Comment I have on this, is next. And believe it or not,
This actually is a good summary, and I've been updating this for every audit committee. We didn't do it the last one because we were in the new draft, but we rolled this forward, and from your, it's more, my tool to you is your monitors. Management.
before I mentioned, before I saw this, I started with my questions.
Okay.
Along the column of the significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, who's responsible? How do we monitor this? Well, and what report would be helpful, because we should be on this every month and not come here next June. I sit with you and have a repeat.
Expected completion, I took this off, management, Jim Haney gave us responses to all the comments, what he expected to get done. That doesn't mean you accept that as acceptable. I'm not gonna pick up where Lynette, she's not here, because she was like, the first year with some of these comments, I want stuff done quicker. Because I feel like the longer you wait, you're taking that, crossing your fingers, going to work at the last minute. If it only happens once a year, well, what happens next year, June 30th, I sit here and you haven't done anything, and I'm going to have to write you up again, material weakness, because there's only a certain amount of time that you can, what we call remediate stuff, and I can say it's operating correctly. If it's only annual control happens once a year, you only got one shot at it.
But if you're monitoring it all
Monitoring.
along,
The audit committee, I think,
the board
Well, the audit committee should do that.
relies on management to monitor the individuals responsible for doing this. No secrets, no surprises, no subversion of their own operations, not But it would be very helpful to have how we can monitor this and fulfill our fiscal.
I think with that actually, I think Brian Richardson said this, there's so much going on. Like, I mean, the executive summary following this, I don't know if they ever shared this before with the committee, but, this is actually a little simple tool. You can sit there and say, what do we do with the annual financial process? You can convert that to monthly and say, maybe I get the fund financial statements on a monthly basis. And say, are we really reconciling everything from a board or audit committee? Look at that. You don't have to do a full audit of it. At one time, last year we did almost a mini audit during the whole year, 12/31. Well, we adjusted a lot of balances there. We gave them an adjustment, to the audit committee that you guys don't have a lot of work to do. And what I'll do is another this was actually more detailed 12/31, and then 3/31 we did a high level review to see some of the changes. More day-to-day stuff, seemed to be working okay. More transactional stuff, receipts and disbursements. But we knew there's certain cool things that were going to be taken care of at year end. We really weren't taken care of. So there was some monitoring of the audit committee said, like, your team come in and do some extra work to do this. And I said, sure guys. We try to leverage as much as possible and give you feedback. And I think we have 12 feedback, which is probably how to get progress as well. And I think that's what the committee looked at and he said, what are you going to do? Next topic was 3/31.
And something you said earlier, I'm not sure if I'm right. You've been with this initial for a couple of formally.
Yep. Days ring, yeah.
Said that actually 2011, 2010, 11,
This year
was
was 6/31.
significantly much worse than 2010.
I think it's pretty evident from.
And then I would go so far as to say that was repeated the following year.
I think Paul was on the board, and I think Brian asked me to point this, he said, I said, got better, but over here.
I'm not trying to be antagonism. I looked at the audit reports before, and they were even better.
I was gonna say, do we have older ones?
They're on the website.
Look at.
The only one that I have a question about is last year's, just, it says draft. It says draft. But what I want to make, I'm not trying to be antagonistic, is we have not seen this. We've seen this. And we are hanging, this board is hanging personally. And same problems, if not more.
This year is better than previous years. We still know
No,
where
that's
it's
not what
leading.
you said. I just said, take a look at 2007, 2008, 2009, even the special one that board called in the controller's office. There were no discrepancies, no material problems. Was there an issue about super user status? Yes. But the audit wasn't worse. Mike just said that. What was worse was the next year significantly, and the next year, and this year. So to say that it's gotten better, or that it was previously bad, doesn't hold weight. I'm hearing this from our same word, what?
That's why I asked the question about, sometimes you do things work really well because the people in place are doing it well, or maybe they haven't established a process, but they kind of do it because they're the ones doing it.
You are the kind man.
Well,
I have functioned like this all along.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand me, but I'm cutting to the chase because there's a time clock that we're on, okay? I got a lot to get done. But I did this 25 years ago as well. No excuse.
Well, I think the other part that I see is.
No excuse.
Have certain repeat items like this, some other boards.
No excuse. And what you said is report.
Awful, you know. I had somebody who was a CPA that took over a position that the person let go, not because of just some issues and boards like, she came in and said, Mike, if I have any of these comments, as a CPA, they should fire me as the case. Just don't have some of this blocking and tackling stuff. And she happened to be a CPA, not always going to be a CPA or whatever. But most people take it so seriously that you don't have repeat comments unless you can look at some of this plan. So you look at the reference I wrote, C-23, that one, sorry. So it means, even though you might make headway in certain things, over underlying is, I can't not give you material weakness because it's still a recurring problem in my eyes that you need to do something. And it might be more condensed because, yeah, you fix stuff. And some of the stuff is because your system itself is programmed where certain
It
things
should
like
be.
payroll,
Monthly
OC set it up right,
financial
and you can't screw it out. It's already right. It's already programmed right. So certain things have become more automated, which helps, a little bit when you have, resource constraints. But, there's other things that no matter what you do, you still have to have somebody understand it and make adjustments and do it right.
so on the trigger weakness, the annual closing, so one of the exercises, is there a way, we can actually run through during the closing, probably for the year? Basically, all the steps you do,
What you can do is a month-end closing. You have a checklist, go through a month-end closing, all bank accounts are reconciled, all general ledger entries are posted. They run, at one time at 12/31, remember we did the fund financials. Very rare in schools do that because it takes a little bit of effort. We actually did that for you to kind of show you where you're at with that funds. You should probably do that almost on a monthly basis so you feel confident that the numbers and a lot of the stuff is not necessarily put on a month-by-month basis, rules and, AR and AP. Good examples, AP, accounts payable, your cash basis. So what happens, for our business, reports accounts payable and then pays it off. You guys don't do that. So I wouldn't say go nuts and try to do that because it's not a normal process, but the normal process,
What I said,
cash,
you're closing monthly. There isn't a lot that can happen to close it out.
you close off monthly, annually, it's just another
And
routine.
I guess my next
With a little bit
question,
extra work.
my next question
Shouldn't happen.
to management would be, when would you expect to close out? Okay, and I'm asking right now, when would you expect, the first week, the first 10 days, the first 15 days?
So for
Second.
Okay, and because I'm the oldest, no. Because I don't want to say more experience. I've been out.
You've been in the audit.
I've been in the audit at this point. I feel ashamed, not ashamed. I feel that I let things down because I wasn't picking up that, okay? No, I don't, no, I take ownership for this, okay? That's my life, okay? I'm hearing management saying that they can get it done by the 15th, okay? I think the audit committee should report the full board when it's not done. Here. Because if that makes it complete the year process, so we can get that MOV0b4 out there. That's huge.
A lot of the process we talked about in March 31st, we're working, right?
Right.
And remember I saying,
Yeah.
I think Joe Gillette said, cross your fingers and see what happens as of June 30th.
I don't want to do it.
Every single thing you need to do, I'll look at AP, I'll look at AR, do this, if you need help, let me know. Show up.
I'm not a paper person. One will say, actually, I am a paper person. I just never know where it is. But one of the few things I found was a Wednesday, May 8th minutes. Okay, I was not there at the meeting before, and it says on it that update, mini audit indicated vast improvement was noted. You know, that the update, we shouldn't have problems. And then all of a sudden,
What I said.
okay, you
I
know,
don't,
so
it's,
I
based on
can't,
what I said.
I can't say enough that it needs to be fixed. And it starts with, I tell my guys, it doesn't roll downhill, it rolls uphill. Management needs to have it to us by the 15th of every month. And if it isn't there, we go to the full board and we tell them that management is not doing what they're supposed to do.
Well, not only that, my understanding of the audit committee is that it functions as an advisory committee to the
Yes.
board.
Right, and that's what I'm
And
saying.
they should not be the only ones getting the reports that you talk about in the audit committee. We should get into those under the board.
Or the audit
And
committee
that's why I
presents.
had to ask, where does it stand on funds? And I didn't get, this looks like a PowerPoint presentation or a fancy word document. It doesn't
It's
seem
a budgetary thing.
That's what I was saying, you know, where are we standing? Where are we standing in liability reserves? And, it's an advisory, so they should be reports.
Yeah, there should be a summary, not just the minutes, and the report that we discussed should be, you know.
Go to the full board.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that was the one problem with the one time when I was away on vacation, and that's when the one report, the budget report, I think that came in, and, you know, everyone felt slammed because they really didn't get all the information, and then it's been presented to the full board. And I think it would be more important for us to, you know, share those deficiencies, you know. It's good to say, rah, 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 we're doing better on something. We took a lot off the plate, but there's a lot that should have been on the plate again.
There's stuff that should get.
Sure. Sure. And especially something that's
I
easy.
mean, really, you wouldn't think it affects new stuff, because you should.
Absolutely.
And there is some new stuff like that.
Yeah.
Looks similar, but it's, you need
We
to.
should, you know, there would be a lot of people, just like 63% of the current American population on the courts. Maybe it's a random
I would think it would be higher than that.
You know, there won't be very many people that look at this, but there will be, and then they'll be putting things out into the community. And it's been duly noted that I had problems with my fingers, and I went out and bought fun stuff, and medical tape, because I was, you know, I was going to respect, I still maintain, you know, I'm around and I'm using my fingers. I've been trying very hard, and it was this finger, it wasn't in my seminary.
Not the international salute of peace.
Take this for what it's worth. There will be people in the community who were told at the meeting before the budget that all was well. Many of that was posted. And they're going to see this audit. 4 people that come. I guarantee you those 4 people will go out and talk.
Must work.
24 people will talk to them, and they'll all speak up.
And then what's going to happen?
I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just all saying, right, you know, in the end, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't stop. It stops with us.
Right, exactly.
And I haven't got much in savings. I got a little tiny house.
Good job.
I read that very, very seriously, that one of the major functions of the district was missionary responsibility.
Talk about this.
And that does relate to our children, because if you ain't got money in the bank account, and you got problems in the community, you hurt your kids, you hurt your youth, and you hurt your
That's actually page C, but it actually,
That
the
really
summary
does.
here actually covers, as you see, the next 3 or 4 pages, we walk through all the items of the, proper activities, so. We talked about the audit committee previously, the ECA report. This is a, it's cash receipts, disbursements, this is student clubs. Some improvement here, typically, material weakness in internal controls, and this means lack of supporting documentation for cash receipts. And as you know, most student clubs, use policy procedures, their budgets, track like tickets and things of that nature. Very rarely, most of our schools, very rarely would try it, as you know, it's a learning tool, so we comment on that. We also saw lack of cash disbursements records. We've seen improvement, but we still think it's, it's significant enough to focus on going forward.
That's what we talked about, actually, possibly some of the next year, so.
And I think we talked about maybe one person who could be taking over for all of them, and we talked about one.
Where they could do it consistently.
Because, right, there's too many people at the top.
We should talk about that.
Some of these comments are form-driven with this, because a lot of forms for the ECA clubs, there's something like this, we signed up for more people.
Are one of the secretaries still running the,
Well, it's the principal's responsibility, the secretary's.
Tomorrow in high school.
What was brought up is because it's cash, it could be a little bit of cash, but it gets really blown out when it hits, if it's a couple $100 is missing cash, who doesn't pay,
A few years ago, I sat with Mar at the high school and went through very detailed, her books recommend the majority of the activity, and she's holding, and actually, advice and Jim said, let's make sure at least the nuts and bolts are all in, and, then we'll kind of continue to focus on the, procedures, but, she'd be answering like, okay, I can't release this thing unless I have a form-driven, this is able to walk, so she was pretty good at following that, but, it's all about the individual advisors, advisors appointed to the club, and, she'll look and say, okay, the advisor signed off to it, so it's got to go, it's got to be paid, therefore, it's okay. But, truthfully, the student should sign it off, or two students, and advisor, and, treasurer.
Last meeting, we were discussing that, and we were talking about maybe possibly a charge card with not to exceed a certain amount, that it would make it easier, because people were coming in and asking for more money than they needed, because it's easier to get more and then try to account for it.
Clarification, the disbursements.
Like the theater, drama, it would be
We
advance.
see a $500 advance, and all we see is like approval allowed.
But we're not going to have
We don't know if you
spend
spend
a charge card would make it
$1
easier.
after $4.99 went to the bonus fund for the person, or is this, and that's what we put, and this has been, we question it every year, and we find the same thing, and it's a simple thing we ask, we look at the advances, and I'm not gonna pick on Drew, or the musical, but he's the one that's gotta do most upfront, and they gotta go buy stuff to build the stage, it's $500 here, $500 there, and wait, the owners, we don't have to send out $500, see the original receipts go back, and residual money to the back into the fund.
I think we have to make it
That's
easier.
high risk area though.
Some way to capture it.
if you don't have a receipt, thanks for the donation.
Problem
That's
is-
what we used to.
But the
call it.
problem is they already have the
I know,
money.
they already got the
Yeah,
money.
it's kind of like an
Yeah.
expense
We
reimbursement.
used to do advances.
But that's why we're saying if you did with the annex, they should still bring a receipt, but if they don't, at least you can say.
You get a full
they bought what they bought.
I think some of these people can't go spend $500 on a credit card to go buy the stuff we get reimbursed, it makes sense, so that's why we talked.
It's some ways of it.
Now, what about, if we say they can spend so much money, well, can't they still go through the PO process in order and, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way we track our money, you know?
Go
It's
through a
like-
PO process.
And they say,
most of the
you can
others-
use up to
the school
this
store,
much money.
the school store, which is why a lot of stuff, they're, not buying materials or software, it's a trip, or some of the clubs are, it's one activity a year, they raise money for it, they go do it, there's not a lot of activity.
Right.
But
But they have a PO up to $500 and, as they, turn in receipts or whatever.
But this was a big sticking point, even though that's not a lot of money.
And I'm not gonna say this is actually an area where I'm reports ask questions about ECA. I got $5 million problem with paying ECA.
Yeah.
No, it's just,
$300.
it's because it aids kids' money, so you want to protect that. It's more you're responsible for the oversight,
And it's usually cash.
and it's always cash.
It's my kid.
It's not that good, because I know where they ended up, we lost our license
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think it's big.
But it's a big thing.
Point is-
And the public is.
Yeah.
Well, we got out of that, but,
I'll stop talking, let Chris talk about the single audit report. The last page.
The last page?
Yeah, that's it. That's class.
Did your opinion on the basic financial statements, both DCA, we also got the single audit reports. Reissue unmodified opinion on internal control as well as compliance on modified specific explanation like provided earlier as opposed to disclaimer opinion or adverse opinion. Our major programs for 2012-13 for Title I as well as the special education cluster, which is the IDA 611 and 619 for preschool. How we come to that conclusion is we take a look at any district that receives over $500,000 in federal funding or expends $500,000 in federal funding or has. So we look at what we call type A major programs, which are over $300,000 in expenditures, which the IDA special education cluster falls into. Now, since we were not a low risk audit this year due to the previous material weakness, we're a high risk audit, which we have to cover, do at least 50% coverage of the total federal expenditures.
This test, it's coverage. What happens because of the material weaknesses, this is, you know, like Chris is saying, it's very form driven. Unlike, I explained in line about the audit process and how we come to the risk assessment. This A133 or single audit is referred to is more like template driven. The Fed say, you have $500,000, you have that amount. It's over 300, you have to test it. And if you're not, if you're a high risk auditee, you have to do even more work. So it's form driven where there's only kind of assessment we make after it is maybe under compliance findings, if there is any. And actually, that's actually somewhat fine because they say a question of cost, and they can vary $10,000. Doesn't matter if you're auditing Jordan Elbridge, you're auditing Syracuse City School District, it's the same threshold. So, but you basically, there's some materiality, assessments on the compliance, but form driven or what you test and how you do it, there's really a increase on that.
I'd also like to mention the fact that we did come across some significant improvements in terms of the tracking of federal grant activity with the new system. Finance manager will track those by budget votes for specific grants. Janice worked pretty hard on throughout the year in order to make sure those were in line with the overall budgets. Figures we definitely got some improvement there. And as Mike said, we know no question costs. We are required to report any question costs over $10,000, which is not common in the program.
It did occur in 12 and 11, recall, something like that, pay back. Truthfully, it's very rare. When the state of New York, funny thing is, they look at your audit report, the compliance findings number there, they do some a little high level review, and they say, tell me check, because you just spent, last year it was around 24,000, and the year before it was around 7,000. A lot of that was
2012,
12 and 11.
11. So which one was 7,000?
11.
12 was
24, 26.
24, yeah.
and this year.
Remember, a lot of this referred to, Glenn, is you have a grant of, say, $100,000. What the district used to do is you have to have expenditures for that. You can actually do estimates and get money in advance. Your states is fine, but you actually hopefully got to reconcile. The school would, I got a grant for $100,000, send in all this stuff for reimbursement for $100,000. Whoops, we only spent $25,000, and it's all over the program. Okay, so we come and audit, says, well, you spent 25 of the proper for the grant, received 100. These numbers are over, pretty simple to calculate for our purposes. And then the state actually reviews it, and then we talk to the guy, he's like, yeah, this is easy. If I put 100, and we spent 25 property, you pay back 75. And, it wasn't like, very, it's simple. These are expenditure-based grants, meaning you have to have expenditure. You're allowed to do some advanced stuff. But as I told Janice, which did a nice job this year, I said by March, you really start going back and looking at it. Don't send out reimbursements to get more money if you're not going to use the program. This also went back to one of our comments a few years ago about utilization of grants. Don't leave money on the table. If you have the grant and you can apply stuff towards it that meets the grant, a lot of it's salaries and there's ways to make it work. But sometimes if you pigeonhole yourself in there, maybe you say we're going to buy all this equipment. A few years ago, they said they're going to buy so many laptops at a certain price. They never bought it. So I said, the state of New York will allow an amendment, no problem. But because you specifically said you're going to do this, you didn't do it, you can't just go off on the way to do it. The state will approve the amendment, but they're not gonna approve it in August, we show up to their own, sorry, just the deadline. And, I think, working with Janet, she understands that, and, that's why you don't see it, and that's great, you don't want to take anything back. Yeah.
So was your opinion it was hands-on, one person monitoring the fund?
Yeah, I mean, this is, Janice, I joke with her, she owns a public act fund, the special aid fund, that's where the grants run through. And, we saw really no issues with that fund. We've got a couple little items we were due this year, but it really was more related to the accounting side. Some of the grant application, information, we expected support to be there with it. I mean, it was all okay at the end when we tested it, but, we should be keeping support. It really wasn't Janice's issue, she still filled out FS 25s. It just, the information should tie up to the general ledger or have something printed, and,
So back to what I talked about the other day, in particular is there is a place that we have a job that, we have a person that's wrapped around the job. We have to get the job wrapped around a procedure. Because there's going to be the day that Janice might not be here. Or, God help us, like the last 3 weeks, she decided to go on vacation, that stretch. Okay, but that'd be nice. So, but,
She's thinking that you're a flower, so
I think that they're past it, because there is
Gotta be
nothing
a lucky
worse.
woman one of these
I mean,
days.
even though really it wasn't our money, the general perception of people is we gave back our money.
Right, it's really just, we just spent the money. we could have spent.
Exactly. They're not seeing that.
And it wasn't taxpayer, well,
Yeah,
it wasn't local taxpayer money.
But it could have been used.
Absolutely.
Right, so say they give you $100,000 for computers, we bought $25,000, but we could have spent all $100,000 and,
So my grandmother sends me $100,000, so yes,
that's.
You gotta give it back.
That's pretty much.
That's pretty much it.
it's gone out, and so it gives you. I don't have grasp on how that happened. Who was responsible?
Previous years.
previous years,
Was it because
huge
there's
disconnect
so,
between the grant person who was in Janet's role and the county folks which didn't talk.
They were showing the job.
Free Janet. Good example is the state questioned me on one of his comments we had too, saying, look, your budget stuff doesn't have any actual number, they don't have anything you do. The state said, well, how do you know that? I said, well, look at the budget, they put actual numbers in there, so that's how the state approves it. If your actual numbers from the year before don't tie with anything, the state assumes it's the right numbers, they're approving the budget, and I said, that's a compliance, that wasn't a dollar finding, it was a compliance finding, they sustained that, and, now, if you're gonna have actual numbers reported for next year's grant application, they better tie it out to your general ledger, what happened, not just, to see what, it was just odd disconnect, but we did attention to the actual.
So now, reports have to be filed on a regular basis. We once had a $500,000 grant from the American Heart Association.
What's interesting with the state of New York, just to give an example, almost all the federal grants pass from the feds to the state has a big office that administers all of them. The state of New York kind of emptying them ahead for not monitoring, because they get the pass-through, they're required to monitor all school districts, everybody they hand it out to. What's happening in the state of New York, those paying attention. Now the state of New York pays a lot more attention. Read the audit reports, they're very quickly looking at it. If you don't have it in timely, they basically stop sending the money for the grants. That 5 years ago, never did it. The state of New York got a slap on their hands, look, the feds are like, look, we give you billions of dollars of stuff, and it runs through your office and your procedures, and you ain't watching what they're doing on it. And that's, so some of the stuff is being more closely looked at, not just because the feds are requiring it, but because the state of New York was kind of a little bit asleep at the wheel.
They gotta pay for their own audit.
For my end of it, in most grants, if it comes in, the money in advance, we mentioned the F fund. Right? That's just the basic way for accounting. Does that money actually go into the general budget? Like the general account?
No.
It does go to an actual
The reason why you have the F fund
separate
is because
account.
it's unique to a specific grant.
So there's another monitoring tool.
Yeah.
There's money
Good
in
example
there,
of
how much, why is it
You
there?
might not know this, you might know this, because I recommend this still. Even though the voters approved the A fund budget, voter approved budget, is every fund should have its own budget. The comptroller recommends it, and the board should, even though it's not voter approved, as a board, you can say, I'll give you a good example, simple example, the debt service fund, the B fund. You're just sitting on cash, it's been stocked away there for a while. The budget should be, we're gonna earn interest, if we're gonna spend money, well, we're gonna use that service, look at distribution. If not, you know, you just look at it and look, business, are we okay? You know, right now, even though it's, you know, it's not an appropriation report, the comptroller recommends that every fund, I mean, Janice, we did set it up in the F fund, and I know we're talking about having, you know, the board monitor, I think, I don't know if you were there at home, and that's actually set up in the system now. You get an approved grant, if you know you're gonna get $600,000, well, great, put it on thing, and at that board, you can sit there and say, Janice, why do you only get 300 so far, and we're in March?
We've got 300,000 in there.
Can it be deferred to next year, or are we just gonna?
And then if I'm reading the way the package works, okay, then we could drill it down even a little bit more and say, oh, that's where that 300, what, it should be going to this.
An example that you provided was the F fund, and that's why, you know, I think you paid, said, well, this is pretty high level. The F fund is pretty high level. You know, the school district has 5 to 7 grants, it's pretty straightforward, versus the general fund, you know, it's a lot more stuff. on it,
Absolutely, right, right.
So you would expect the general fund, you know, budget staff report to be more voluminous, just like it is for the system. You know, the other funds, even the school lunch fund, you should have a budget, you know, most of it's, you know, your fees for the manager fees for the service, but you bring in some revenues and just see where you're at. That helps you guys monitor exactly where they're at across all the funds. Capital projects are a little bit more difficult, you're kind of coming to the conclusion there. You know, you're crossing so many years, but you still have budgets in there of what you're spending, you're pretty close to the end of the major, you know, 2019 project, but actually, interesting enough, you actually have another fiscal advisor, their advisor's Bernie Downing's office, they have a summary, goes through every single thing, where you're at every single line. You know, you saw Karen does it. You know, that's a budget for the project, by line, by contract, and I know you approve certain things, and that's a budget for the project, that's.
Does Dr. Timms get that?
I don't know if he does. I don't think he looks at it, I don't, he doesn't really.
He filed.
Yeah. So, just to give you some, you know, perspective there, you have. Well, that's all.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
On the audit committee and management.
Which letter?
I think it's C.
Is that the audit?
No, it's not.
Yes, it's the C.
It's C. Okay, I had some of those copies.
Those are probably original you can.
I referred to this earlier, our consideration of general control of the financial report was for limited purpose decided to see paragraph not time and identify all the internal controls.
Third paragraph, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Third paragraph.
It's not designed to identify all deficiencies in internal control and financial reporting that might be material weaknesses, courses with deficiencies, and therefore material weaknesses or significant deficiencies may exist that were not identified. I understand why that's on there. I don't question that, but having gone through numerous federal health audits and state TAP audits,
Okay.
they would pull certain files.
I used to audit school, or higher end, SFA cluster,
You know the electricity that's thrown around the building, every office, to include custodian, it's pins and needles. And what they do is, they don't pull files. They pull 100, depending on the size of the needle. And they extrapolate terms and say if I have 40% problems, we have here.
Yeah.
I calculated that out, and it's $1 million. Is there any way that you could make a comment in terms of, I realize there could be deficiencies. Is there a similar formula that could be used?
The extrapolate stuff, that's usually for the numbers itself, to say, we do a pure sampling, a lot of stuff we test is actually transactional. Balance doesn't agree, therefore it's off, reported. Usually when you sample, it's going to find a file, so for example, with the same thing, you extrapolate number, you have 20 wrong as dollar, you take that and apply to the entire population. Most of the sampling we do doesn't actually fit into that. That would say that comfortably I could say, you could be off $1 million. But what we do from a control standpoint, say, based on what we've seen, does this, rise more than, it starts off as a deficiency, does it rise up to a significant deficiency or material weakness based on what we've seen? And if we had extrapolated, would it make some sense? We can't say certainly that just because we found 40% wrong, that the other was 40% wrong about the population. Basically, what we do is get to the point, like, instead of burning time on it, no, it's not gonna work anyways, because we don't test any controls at that level. We stop and say, we report it to you and say, hey, we found 40% wrong. Therefore, it would not be an effective control for us to rely on for testing. Therefore, we move into a substantive test. Therefore, we're not comfortable extracting. It's what's interesting in SFA testing, there's compliance supplements that tell you, the auditor, hey, you have 5,000 students, you're required to do this. So same thing with your programs, they tell us certain things to do for the compliance, but not necessarily for.
But as you present this report, I'm making the conclusion that this is what you found based upon what your chart was. That doesn't mean that you found all material weaknesses and deficiencies, and they pretty well exist.
Pretty well exist.
And they can come back and bite us in the butts of the, you'll see. And,
No, you're 100% on it.
and we should do everything that we can
Not
to try to find out if there are deficiencies, why they occur, and how we fix it. Because I've always had this conference, even though the states and feds got me all wound up, that if you can show that you are being thoughtful, anticipate the problem, and attempting to fix it rather than wait for it to be told to you, they have a little, some of them have mercy. But don't give it the tea party because.
Well, no, I joke with some, I know I joke with some people, if they're not proper status or you reinstate, I said, don't put a tea party anywhere in the
Don't have the letter T.
So, no, it's just frightening. I mean, I agree with you, as our audit approach, we assess internal controls to help reduce our testing levels. One of the requirements we do is look at last year's findings and have to roll forward. So automatically look at it and see if there's any improvement. We may not be able to leverage it, say, great, they did something, but I don't need to test it. And a lot of these things we just walk over because we go to a substantive testing approach versus a high level of controls. A good example is like computer controls. And we do a very high level assessment. We did it with Kevin. We don't test it. We just make sure some of the blocking and tagging stuff there because we go to a substantive audit approach. Testing internal controls in an external audit, the cost benefit usually isn't there unless you're so sophisticated and wired and stuff. Is we spend an enormous amount of time doing it, and a lot of times we find out the stuff isn't as effective, and therefore we still got to do testing details and transactions. Meaning, and that's just historically most school districts and a lot of the balances we're dealing with are easier to substantively test. Certain things we sample. Sure, like purchasing controls and things across because they're voluminous, there's thousands of transactions. A lot of your account balance on the balance sheet are 2 or 3 things in it. So it's easier to say, just give me the details of testing, make sure it's accurate. But I know where you're coming from with the SFA type cluster, and Telegram, a lot of rules. You go through it, you select 40 people, every student click on test 1 through 9 and boom, 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 and go through it. So, and that was very rule focused.
So I don't know if I can do it because I never ever realized the significance of algebra until in charge of predicting and forecasting at home. So I could play around with some algebraic formulas and come up with a way for this projection. I want how many material, other additional material weaknesses and deficiencies are there. And I'm sensing inevitably there are. And what's more important, to me, what's important, and always made a difference to the crediting agencies and to the auditors, that you were showing a good faith effort, doing everything possible.
That's real. Use your
And
definition of
anticipating
controls.
that there were some problems, and
process.
dig into them and find solutions. working with all the resources.
I think, your frustration on that a lot, I'm going to want to our vehicles is that too many things are similar. You don't mind catching the thing that you can say, hey, wrap your arms around it. You started this,
Some
you
unique
brought
transaction that happens once every couple,
but
10 years.
but fix that repetitive thing, and that
Drives me nuts
frustrates.
when I look at stuff that repeats year after year after year, meaning, closing the books and annual, talking about it for 3 years. Even if it's not a major material adjustment, because maybe we got lucky and got certain things right, I would have still said material because of the continuity of the significance of like, you gotta deal with this thing. Just look at it. I mean, that's an indicator of what a material weakness is. It doesn't repeat. Material weakness also is a material adjustment. There's a required big adjustment made to it. So there's some judgment in it, but a lot of times it's, I can say, sit back and put an external user sit there and say, wow, we have $1 million in this shouldn't be a big problem. And that's how we try to get your feedback. And, usually I don't have a lot of these reports sway me down from a material weakness, but sometimes we have some interesting discussions. But a lot of times, it's still my opinion, you may not like it. Lots of
But we're not gonna get any better if you don't tell us.
Yeah,
what's
no,
wrong.
No, that's absolutely detailed.
And at one time, the board asked me, said, put everything up. I don't care how big, it doesn't really bother me. If you see something small, even the comptroller, he does a report in writing, and you see, but he has a little list of notes that he doesn't, he said we should improve on this, but it doesn't go anywhere in public records. Other control deficiencies, we don't need to report to the board and discuss them technically on paper, but we do, because we feel like we want, we've said to do it, and it will do it. We get to material weakness or significant deficiencies, we're required to do it. Sometimes some firms just do it in one letter, say, yeah, they told you, and then what happens, nobody understands what it meant, and you're like, I didn't realize that was such a big deal. We try to explain it to you that, have a material weakness in your controls, really not where you want to be. Especially since you've been carrying forward, as Chris said, impacts your testing we have to do with your compliance. Out of the boxes, you have material weakness, material controls, even though it's not compliance, it says, that must mean something's not working right, maybe we're nervous that the federal dollars aren't being spent wisely, therefore, auditors, rather than covering 50%, you gotta drop down to 25. It's a big, you gotta cover more stuff in that program. You went from 25 to 50, and then you gotta do more work in those areas. So sometimes, when you do more work in areas, just because of the nature you're looking at more stuff, you're gonna cover other stuff too. Even one of the findings this year, the race to the top thing, that we gotta resolve, it was only $13,000, but we got an answer from the state saying you can apply it for